practice. So it's an important thing to think about. So we're building an online community of practice. We're thinking a lot in Alberta about community and communities of practice, both in a face-to-face context and in an online one. I want to make a distinction here between community and networks. So real quick in the chat, how do you define community? What would you define it? And it could be community in the traditional sense or online communities, or I just want to know, creating a common language and a common understanding around these terms, what is community to you? So if you were to finish the sentence, I would define community as, how would you define it? Really wonderful definitions. So if you're still doing your community definition, please do. If not, I want you to shift. How would you define networks? So what's a network? Is it different than a community? Is it the same thing? I know there's commercials on TV that we watch that they say, you know, they have the network following the guy around, and you have your network with you. It looks like a community to me. So are they the same thing, or are they very different?
I'll use Jean's example of the shower, which I thought was amazing, is that he networked to some source to find the information. I don't know if he had a relationship with that person that had the information, but I would see that as an example of a network where I'm going to get something, getting what I need, and coming back. And if I had a community, there is a stronger relationship of caring and giving and that type of thing.
All right, so if I'm interpreting what you said correctly, Val, you're saying that there's some sense of commitment in community because it's a stronger connection, and that maybe networking is as much about going out to people as it is about to resources and bringing back what I need, which is more of me kind of focus. Now, Jean, you said no. Do you want a chance to rock back against that? Or anyone else? How would you describe the difference between community and networks? Ah, I gotcha. I understand that now. So some of you are going through and you're making some distinctions. Let's look at what I came up with. And this is an emerging field. There isn't a correct answer because there's so much being learned about it now. But when I look at communities, here's a couple definitions. I really like the Wikipedia definition. I would shift it just a little bit, but it says that it's the process of social learning. So when we look for the research base, the empirical base out of which this idea of community comes from, it comes from Bandura, and it comes from the social learning theory. And so it's a process of social learning that occurs when people who have a common interest. So somebody said that earlier, we're interested in the same kind of thing, a common interest, and that we, in some subject or problem, and I would add, or possibility, and that we collaborate together over an extended period, and I think that's key, that when you bring a community together, it's not a class, it's not a course. When you bring a community together, it's not a team working on a task that they're going to complete. It's not somebody who's getting information to fix a leaky pipe. Instead, it really is an extended period, and this is developmental, to share ideas, so there's link sharing and idea sharing, to find solutions, so really a problem finder, a problem solver, and then to build innovations. And the innovation piece is collectively creating something that addresses the problems that we're trying to solve. So it's that collaborative kind of piece, that collective intelligence that's built over time, not crowdsourcing or groupthink or the kind of thing where we get the wisdom of the crowd, but rather a collective intelligence, a capacity building, a learning together, a collective efficacy that happens over a longer period of time. Now, when we're looking at definition of networks, it's very interesting to think about networks. Some people describe network as infrastructure. Nancy White, who's thought a lot about these two things, says that community actually falls out of networks, that you'll have a network, let's say a Twitter network, a Flickr feed, other learning objects, and it's out of that that an opportunity to collaborate more deeply and have a more systemic, committed kind of project happens. That networks are made up of not only individuals, but also made up of learning objects, feelings, those kinds of things. George Siemens, Stephen Downes, Terry Anderson talk a lot about this new learning theory that they're coining connectivism, where it is the theory of learning in networks. And they talk a lot about this, and a lot of people are pushing back on it, and some are thinking that it's a pretty good idea. One person has said that when you're really thinking about this idea of connecting together and learning in networks, that it really is a self-organized kind of thing. It was a lot like Jean was talking about, where people are organizing that information, they know how to get back to it, that they know how to get the expertise that they need and how to develop it. In a participatory culture, the barriers of participation are very low. So if I don't know how to fix something, I can go on and give a shout out and people will help me immediately. So it really is about using the connections that you have to learn things. One main difference between communities and networks is that networks are all about me. I decide who I'm going to follow. I put them in my network. I choose when I'm going to learn. It's very much about me and my needs and what I want to learn. Where community is very much about we. It's about the collective identity. It's about working together. It's about co-constructing. In fact, it's the co-constructing of knowledge that builds a sense of community. I love this chart because it kind of lays it out nicely. I'm one who likes to look at things, in comparison to each other. So you can really see this idea of these different kinds of learning theories up against each other and really begin to think about them in the larger picture. And that it isn't one over the other. It's really accessing different types of learning and different ways of learning at different times for different purposes. So it's this idea of becoming a connected learner and understanding that each one of these nodes represented in this diagram offer great opportunities for learning, but it is the collection of the nodes. It is the whole that's greater than its parts. And that if school is one of these nodes, and then kids have all these other learning opportunities in the network, that doesn't diminish our role. That merely redefines it. So we have to think about, good, Carla, I'll be making all these slides available to you so you can kind of look through it. But it really helps us to redefine then what our role is. If kids can learn anything, anytime, anywhere they want, if our faculties can learn anything, anytime, anywhere they want, that they can be connected educators, they can do it-yourself learning, then we're really going to have to think about how do we redefine helping them become learners and helping them to access and synthesize and organize and make sense of and utilize the kinds of information that's out there. If you're a visual person and you like the visual, this is the difference between networks and communities. And you can see that they both have a purpose. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that you can download the whiteboard and you have the PDF if you'd like the slide set so that you can actually use the chart in isolation. I'd be happy to make those available. So for